Moving on to the Liberty Bowl, we have Memphis. That's interesting, playing a home bowl game here against Iowa State. Iowa State, a 10.5-point favorite now. That has been climbing in the past couple of days. And this game carries an over-under of 57.5 points. Kicks off Friday afternoon at 3:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN from, like I said, Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium, home of the Memphis Tigers. Even though this is played in their own stadium, they're actually technically the away team. I'm pretty sure that is the case. Everything that I've seen is at Iowa State, the way they picked them. I think that they're an away team in their own stadium. But this is a rematch of the 2017 Liberty Bowl, if you're looking at this thinking, that looks kind of familiar. Iowa State won that game in a wild fashion. It was 21-20, the final score. Iowa State was pretty statically at -7.5 for a while, but here they are on the rise. And to be honest, we haven't seen major opt-outs from like Seth Hennigan, or I don't even think he's eligible for the NFL, but any of those guys. And it's just been pure market-driven movement here. Memphis, though, 2 of their starting offensive linemen won't play. They're missing 2 key players in the secondary as well. A secondary that sometimes decided not to play football, most of the time decided not to play football in their games. Iowa State, on the other hand, 2 of their 3 leading rushers are in the portal, but Abu Sama absolutely exploded onto the scene late in the year. He had 110 yards on just 8 carries against Texas Tech, and then 273 yards in the snow on just 16 carries against Kansas State. They might be without one of their safeties, but otherwise they are intact here. So to find the last time that a game involving Memphis didn't also involve a team scoring at least 38 points, you have to go all the way back to October 13th. To find a game where either team scored fewer than 21, you have to go all the way back to September 9th when they played Arkansas State. When they played any sort of better competition than Arkansas State, there were points on the scoreboard. And Nate Steelchase, the offensive coordinator for Iowa State, has done a fantastic job with the offense, and the Cyclones have found a lot of success going through the air. Like I said, Memphis' secondary doesn't love playing football all that much. Plus, with Sama, that's the new explosive addition to the offense. They are third. Iowa State is third in offensive yards per play over the last 3 games. They're only behind LSU and Kansas. And LSU averaged almost 10 points a play at the end of the season there. It's impressive company to be part of. Like I said, TJ Tampa might be sitting out. That does hurt Iowa State's secondary. So the combination of this offense absolutely rolling right now, Memphis always playing in shootouts, and both secondaries being a little bit hindered here, I like over 57.5 points for this game.
Now I'm on this historical bowl data trend here, Brett, since you got me going on it. Liberty Bowl first played in 1959. Only 7 bowl games have been played more than the Liberty Bowl, or have been played longer than Liberty Bowl. I'm all over this stuff now, thanks to you. My model, if everyone's playing in these games, which again, they're not, if everyone's playing, my model likes Iowa State by about 5.5. So it was sitting at 7.5 for a long time. It's now shot up, as you said. Those that view the sport from 30,000 feet have likely noticed that Matt Campbell is one of the better coaches in the country. What he's been able to accomplish in Ames the past few years is pretty remarkable given Iowa State's historical standing in the sport and in the Big 12 as a whole. But even with that context, I'm not sure he's getting enough respect for the job he did in 2023. Just before the season started, there were all sorts of question marks around player availability, important players, no less, due to the sports wagering situation at Iowa State and rival Iowa as well. I projected 5.5 wins for the Cyclones with a 50-50 chance to go bowling. All Matt Campbell did was win 7 games, including games against Big 12 championship game participant Oklahoma State, 2022 national championship game participant TCU, and defending Big 12 champion Kansas State in Farmageddon. The defense was top 25 per usual in recent years here in Ames, and the offense, they were much better than expected, finishing the year number 53 and shooting up those offensive unit ranks here down the stretch, as you mentioned, Brett, what they've done in the last 3 games on a point-per-play basis. For Memphis, interesting that they're a away team in their home stadium. I wasn't even tracking on that. That is, when's the last time that happened, if ever? I mean, I don't know. Maybe like a Miami team playing in like the old Orange Bowl, like in a national championship game, maybe or something. I have no idea. Like certainly it's happened before, not often. For Memphis, the Tigers only lost 3 games all year. A 1-possession game at a neutral site against a Missouri team that ended up winning 10 games, and 2 games against the AAC championship game participants, a 1-possession game against eventual conference champ SMU, and a 10-point game against Tulane, the team that was in the New Year's Six last year from the group of 5. The Tigers' offense was legit good this year. They ranked number 21 at the end of the year, but you touched on it, Brett. It was the defense. If not for the sub-100 defense that Memphis fielded, it's possible, and I'll even say likely, that this would be the team representing the group of 5 in the New Year's Six. They just didn't have a defense.
Yeah, well, it is funny that we can frame like, oh, their losses are really good, and they are. That's a very convincing argument about, to Mizzou and Tulane and SMU. But they also, dueled to a 45-42 finish against North Texas, and they allowed 50 points to USF in a game that they somehow won, and also went to overtime 44-38 against Charlotte. So it is a little bit about framing, but yeah, the losses are definitely impressive.
I learned a long time ago, Brett, that you can take data and present it really in any way that you want. The exact same data can be presented 4 different ways to appease 4 different audiences or 4 different outcomes. I was going for the angle of I think Memphis was not that far away from being in the New Year's Six. You said, Kelly, they also weren't that far away from not going bowling. So, I mean, that's what it is, though. And hey, that's college football, right? And I always put out the net one possession graphics and all that. Like, how are you doing in close games? It's crazy. And this is 2 years in a row. I'll use the most prominent examples. TCU in 2022 and Washington this year. The teams just did not lose close games. And when you're able to bat 100 or 1,000 in close games, you end up in the college football playoff. When you don't bet 1,000 or you just lose more than you win, you're Scott Frost. And I don't know what you're doing now, but Nebraska can't seem to shake that moniker, right? And so it's crazy how often a team, a coach, a player, their career, their legacy is defined by these razor-thin margins, and it just falls one way or the other. And, yeah, you can then take the data and basically make it say whatever you want. Best 9-loss team ever, the 2021 Nebraska Cornhuskers.
Yeah, Memphis only played in 4 games that were not decided by single digits, and only 5 that were not 6 that were not one score. So half their games were one score here. And Ryan Silverfield, something we talked about in the offseason, historically not good in one-score games, but as we kind of pointed out here, he had a winning record in one-score games this year, so that's not bad. But either way, I love the over in this one just because Memphis opts not to play defense, and Iowa State's offense has just been electric.